Today, look who it is. It's ChillPoint.
Who's ChillPoint?
They're ChillPoint. It's for them.
We are all ChillPoint. Yeah. Filling in for Ian and Nelson, it is Beej and Heather.
Did we cross timelines again?
So it's the international date line is what we crossed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beej and Heather crossed the international date line to be here yesterday or tomorrow.
But to record this for you so you could watch it right now.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Welcome to ChillPoint. With Beej and Heather returning from the trip that we sent you on to take a picture of the Switch 2.
7 days after its release. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Don't
its
worry,
reveal.
I have all my receipts. I'll be sending them in tomorrow.
Yeah. In hindsight, maybe it wasn't that good a use of funds.
Not a terribly fiscal responsible.
we went-
Send you to Japan for a month to take a picture of the Switch 2 that was available to have in pictures in many other ways.
It's true.
There were probably, because we weren't allowed to touch it where we were. It was behind glass. I checked.
Could you touch the glass that it was behind?
That would just be rude.
Well, I mean, I did.
Holy
Don't
crap.
tell anyone.
So at the Nintendo Museum, though, if you walked away from one of the exhibits and you get like a little bit away and you turn around and look, there'd usually be a person who was waiting nearby, an employee, who would then go over and wipe. Yeah, Heather's waiting for a phone call. Sorry. Oh. They'd come over and they'd wipe down all the glass. Because sometimes people and I was bad for this too because I don't have any depth perception, right? So sometimes be like, okay, but that, and then that don't, I'm like, fuck, and I like bump into it a little bit. So then somebody would walk over and they would wipe everything down, and they were constantly doing it all day.
Now, are you sure that was something that they were doing for everybody? Or was it maybe just somebody following you around?
Just for the big greasy Canadian, yeah. Though they were doing it for everybody because we actually came up to a spot where some people had left and they'd come in and they wiped everything down and yeah, it because the museum's still pretty new, right? It's like it's only 6 months old. All the glass is incredibly clear to the point where I'm like, sometimes I was like, can I touch that? And then I'd like move a bit and I could catch the light raking off it. I'm like, I can't touch that. Okay.
Special. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised because there's like the sort of
there are coatings you can get,
museum grade, a low refractive index.
Yeah, anti-UV stuff that you can get. So it was you were not allowed to take. I'll be clear about this, I guess. You can take a whole bunch of photos in the Nintendo Museum outside and on the first floor. And that's fine. And you can even take some pictures in the cafe if you want to. And we did all those things. But when you go up to the second floor, no photos. Like it is like, they even tell you in Japanese and English downstairs, they're like, you are about to enter a non-photo area. Like, a no photo area. Do not take photos.
This is where they show you all the secret stuff.
Yeah. Well, it isn't. It's where all the exhibits are. And that's kind of the fun, I guess, is that it's like you get to see those yourself.
Right.
But when we got upstairs, that's where the Switch 2 was. And I was like, well, we can't take photos of it, but we can go look at it. So we went over and we had a look. And then later we saw people taking photo and video. I'm like, that's not right. You're not supposed to do that. And then saw a bunch of people, like a bunch of employees standing and watching them do it. And I was just like, they should say something. And then Heather's like, no, the sign says you can take photos and videos. I'm like, well, then we should take photos and videos too. Like, what are we doing?
I'm back. Did I miss anything
Only the
fun?
Switch 2. Only the Switch 2 you're allowed to take photos and videos of.
Only in that floor. The other floors we were allowed to take videos and stuff.
I like the idea that it's like it's like you go up the escalator or go up the stairs.
Oh, escalator, yeah.
And it's like this floor. This is where all the special exhibits are, but you're not allowed to take photos or pictures of them. And then you just go up the escalator, and then you come down another escalator, and time has passed, and you're like, wait, what happened? And they're like, oh, you saw all the exhibits and you really enjoyed them.
You had a good time. You're smiling a lot.
I mean, the photo.
And it's 2 hours later.
Yeah.
The photo I really wanted to take, which was in the no photo zone, so I didn't because I respect rules and don't want to get thrown out of places.
That's fair.
was the exclusive footage we saw of Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah, it was awesome.
nice.
So they have a wall. They have one part of their wall anyway that has a bunch of screens set into it, and across the top of like above each screen on this display.
Yeah, these very like vertical
Yeah.
set screens. It shows you they go through a bunch of franchises.
And they have the
show
icon
you-
above each one to be like, this is the Famicom, and this was on
Yeah,
Game
it's
Boy,
to
and
show
this is
you
on
the
Super Famicom.
evolution of a franchise at the
Oh,
same
nice.
time.
Yeah, yeah.
So when we saw the Zelda one, every character was pulling out a sword at the same time when he gets a sword, or like in all the
Yeah, it was
iterations
all
that they were
perfectly
showing.
timed.
It was really cool.
It was really cool.
Because you could sit very far back and watch it all happening at the same time.
And then the Metroid one came up, and it was like Metroid on I mean, there's not that many Metroid games, but there are, so it's like, Famicom and Game Boy and Super Nintendo and then GameCube for Metroid Prime, and then Wii, and then like that, and then Metroid Dread, and then a one at the very end that was a completely blank screen, and it said Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. And while everything else is going on, that's showing a blank screen for footage. And whenever it would do it, the changes for like all the other things would
Yeah, like
change,
the,
it would also do the cubic change from blank screen to another blank screen.
Yeah, all of the transitions and stuff. We're just looking at it and like, I wish I could take a picture of this because I think it's really funny to see Metroid Prime 4 with the
And it had
like
the Switch 2 logo
blackness.
and everything, right? So
It's like, yeah, the turns is just like placeholder.
yeah, pretty much this space intentionally left blank. It was
Yeah.
just like, oh, okay, this is interesting. So, hey, Jordan's in the chat.
Oh, I've got pictures I need to send you, Jordan. They're JoJo related.
Yeah.
Ooh. So yeah, cool stuff.
We could talk for a long time about all of that. Suffice to say, we spent a lot of money, not like $1,000, but we spent like a lot of money at the Nintendo Museum, and got some fun stuff.
Well, not there, no.
Yeah, we spent a lot of money in other places as well, but we
Yeah.
spent the most money in one go just there, and got some neat things, and like, yeah, it was the whole trip was a lot of fun, and I'm not gonna do a 3-hour TED talk about that for ChillPoint. We're doing
Yeah,
this.
you probably get Beach to do that at like the anime roundup or something.
So, Tracalio or Tracalio's in chat. Thank you very
Ooh.
much. I got the email, and I also got a message from the shipper, so I'm aware that it is on its way. What a great thing to open my email on when I come back to work to see this thing to be like, it's Princess Auto. We should talk, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. That was really cool. So,
An
Yeah,
email-
whereas post
an-
I come back to work and the first thing I see is Polygon's dead. So, our email experience differed on the first day of work.
Anyway, hey everybody, welcome to ChillPoint, show
Did we
where
not do that part yet?
we talk about video game news, and also sometimes about cool, slightly video game related travel that people have gone on. We also talk about the episode of Checkpoint that went up on the channel yesterday. So yeah, let's get into it. Because as Heather mentioned, gonna level with you some kind of bummer stories this week, but
Yeah.
there's also some fun stuff. So we'll get through it. Starting with Nelson did this story about the update to the Switch that just came out. A system update, and one of the big things for
More
this,
than stability improvements.
Yeah.
it wasn't just like miscellaneous stability improvements. This is the thing that Nintendo announced that they were going to do. Adds this virtual game cards functionality, which is kind of a slick, weird, but kind of in a Nintendo way.
it has definitely made 8 people angry.
It's kind of slick version of game sharing. All the different, Steam's got some stuff, and different companies have different ways, because of course it's a tricky thing you want to manage, right? It's
Yeah, you want to be able to
Yeah.
share a game
It's
with
like-
people in your family, or you want to be able to
They-
like hand one to your
and-
friend to play
and
for a bit.
they're like, we want to have people share things, but we have to do it in such a way that people aren't going to
I also
abuse it too
want
much.
to point out, I'm pretty sure Game Share's the function that they refer to, the whole I have a Switch, game and I want to play with my friends at the same time, multiplayer thing.
Oh, right.
Where
That's
this
true.
is just virtual game cards. This
Virtual
is why
game
this
cards.
kind of thing gets kind of confusing.
Yeah.
Because there's
two
a few
functions.
different functions of things you can do, and
But I think it actually it's in terms of sort of the intuitiveness of how the system works. The idea of the virtual game card where you're sort of ejecting it and then inserting it virtually into your friends or your family members' system.
Yeah.
I think that sort of metaphor for it might make things a little clearer for people because I know like Steam, like family sharing on Steam, can get a little bit weird and confusing. Like it's like certain games work with it, certain games don't.
Okay.
Whether you can play a game while somebody else, like if somebody else is logged into their account and playing a game, sometimes that'll boot you out of a different. Like if you're playing.
oh
like,
yeah,
a
we've
different
had
game.
that happen on stream with
Yeah.
Yeah.
PlayStation accounts.
Yeah, and there's like there's a part of Game Share previously on Nintendo Switch because Game Share was kind of a thing that you could do, right? Where you could it wasn't really Game Share the way they're calling Game Share right now. The virtual game card kind of idea didn't really exist, but the idea of like, how do I share a game with somebody else, and it involved.
You had to physically log into both switches.
And then you could be like, now that person can play the game on their Switch because you've logged in and you've made it a secondary account, but you could be both logged in at the same time and playing the same game, and it was I can't really keep it straight is the problem.
Okay, if you have two Switches,
Yeah.
one is your primary,
Yeah.
one is your secondary.
So they're both mine.
They're both yours.
Okay.
Technically. So, if you have a secondary account on a Switch, what that means is if you want to play your digital games, they need to touch the internet to have the internet say, yes, you do own those games.
Okay.
Whereas your primary Switch is always like, of course you own these games. I'm your
It's your primary Switch. Okay.
So what people would do is while you're logged in with your primary Switch, anybody else who has their account on that Switch can play the games that the primary account holder has on there.
Because
They
it's
can't
never checking.
Yeah, they can't do that on the secondary one because the secondary one will check.
I see. So if you and I were doing this and it's like, I want to play this game, you'd be like, that's cool. You have to log in on my Switch and play it on my Switch. And if I want to play it, I have to play it on your Switch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which seems
So
a
it's
little
it's-
confusing.
So people are like, "Oh, this is a terrible thing that they've put to bed and they've gotten rid of," because the way the new system works does cancel out the idea that if you don't go online with the primary Switch, the Switch doesn't know that you're playing the game, so your secondary one could just play it.
Yeah, and it kind of has it smacks a lot of borrowing a physical library book versus borrowing an ebook.
Right.
Yeah.
They're sort of trying to.
But
and,
it's a workaround.
Yeah.
yeah, and I think the limitation that they've put, which is that the switches, in order to do this game exchange, the switches have to be physically near each other on the same Wi-Fi
Yes.
network.
As far as I can tell, I haven't tried any of these things yet.
And maybe I'm sure people will figure out a way to jury rig something to get around that. But how it's
Look forward
supposed to
to it.
work is they have to be physically beside each other. And I think that's a reasonable compromise in terms of like, rather than just opening it up to anybody. So it's like, okay, there are a certain number of hoops that have to be jumped through. But if you're using it in the way that they intend you to use it, like in sort of a family group, that isn't that big a hoop. So maybe
Yeah.
it's okay.
I've never personally liked the whole primary secondary Switch thing either because to me it's like, oh, the secondary Switch should be the one that I go traveling with, except it needs to, again, check in with the internet every time I want to
Right.
play any of those games,
Yeah.
which means I have to take the primary
And
one.
I don't want to make value
What?
judgments about which of my switches is the more
They're
important
both
switch.
equally beautiful in your
Yeah,
eyes.
exactly.
Yeah, even though our launch Switch is now currently sitting in its dock, unplugged into from anything, just on a
You
shelf.
said you wanted to do stuff with it.
We still have it, and I'm like, I don't know if I would want to sell it. I feel because you can homebrew it because it's
Yeah.
a launch Switch, right? We
Yes.
never, we should still be able to do that. But it's like, it's not, we're not using it for anything at this point right now.
Yeah.
It is on its own, and every so often I take it off of its unplugged dock and I put it on my dock so that it can actually sit and get a full battery, and then I put it back on its dock again. Just so it won't run down.
Just rotate your switches.
It's just, look, if you want to do something with it, you should just do something with it, and
Yeah.
don't blame the Switch that can't do anything on its own.
It's true. I definitely
Stop treating it like an abandoned child.
I definitely like it is odd we have 3 of these in our house. I think because console wise it kind of felt like, well, the Switch will be a hybrid thing with like you can play at home but you can play away. And when we got the Switch originally, we were splitting time on it.
Yes.
And then when you got your Animal Crossing one, we stopped splitting time on it. And then things like Virtual Game Card and the Game Share thing would have been a lot nicer to have at that time. So, and now we have 3 Switches in the house, and we don't even have a cat to play the third one. So it kind of feels like, we have way more than that than what we would need to make this, So I'm looking at that and being like, oh God, is that what's going to happen with the Switch 2? Probably. We're going to get one that we'll be able to use, both of us, and at some point we'll buy another one, and then we'll each have our own. And
I can get rid of a Switch if you want.
that's okay.
Switch 2.
I can make it go away.
No.
Although
It'll just make things disappear.
if you are getting rid of your Switch in order to trade it in for the Switch 2,
Yeah.
people quite rightly came up with or realized the big problem with that, which is at the moment anyway, or previously to this update,
Yeah.
in order to transfer your information from one Switch to another or from a Switch to a Switch 2, you need, again, the 2 devices had to be beside each other or near each other.
Right.
And it transfers the data from one to the other, which obviously, if you're trading in the Switch to get the Switch 2, is a problem.
Very sticky, yeah.
So they've made it so you can put your data from your Switch up into Nintendo's cloud server, and then it can bring down. Now, to be clear, this is one of those things this is one of those like data management things. This is not a backup of your stuff, right?
Oh, if you do this,
It's the only copy of your
If
stuff.
you do this, your Switch factory resets itself.
Yeah, okay.
Makes sense.
So yeah, your data they want to make sure it's one of those like like the Star Trek transporter thing, right?
Right.
You can never be in 2 places at once, otherwise they have to kill
one of you.
They have to kill one of you.
So I blame things like Pokemon for this, because Pokemon won't let you do a cloud save. You have to but you can transfer the game over when you do a system transfer and stuff like that, because they're afraid of people cheating.
Yeah.
Someday Pokemon will have the technology to have more than one save file.
That said, I do think it's really cool that they'll let you put your transfer file basically in limbo while you wait for your Switch 2, because when the 3DS and the new 3DS came out, there were definitely stories I saw of people who would go to GameStop or whatever your local game store that maybe still existed in this time period was, and they would buy the new thing with a trade-in, and the hopefully the store would let you do your transfer over in the store before you handed your system off.
Yeah.
And now people don't have to do that. So that's still something. I think that's pretty good.
That's something.
The one other thing about this story that I wanted to mention is, at the very end. So Nelson wrote the story, and at the very end, he's he talks about if you're in a family group with a bunch of friends that all live at various addresses, this change will probably affect you adversely. But good news. You've made the clever decision not to raise children, or perhaps the cleverer decision not to even let Nintendo know about them.
I mean, I do think you shouldn't let Nintendo know about your children.
Yeah.
Nintendo but Nelson provided a bunch of the images, or spec'd a bunch of the images for this story, and for that one, he spec'd mentally destroyed parents image, not AI, because
Right.
we've gotten burned a couple of times fairly recently.
It's difficult to avoid it now.
It can be difficult
It's harder.
to avoid, especially if you're looking like for a fairly sort of generic-y kind of image.
Yeah.
So for this, to get that image, because I was also concerned about that, I explicitly did a search for images before 2020. So the image of the sort of it's like I think it's like a dad like lying on the couch with the kid like.
Oh yeah.
From the before times.
Is from that. It's from like an article from like 2015 or something.
Perfect.
So I was like, okay, I think this is pretty safe. Anyway, speaking of Switch 2, Graham did a story about the launch lineup for the Switch 2, in which we actually were talking about this a little bit before we went live. Graham wants it made clear, although I think it's pretty clear in the story, but some people in the comments questioning about it. Graham wants it made clear he is in no way diminishing the Switch 2 as a console.
No.
Just that the
No.
the launch lineup is a little anemic.
Yeah.
You'll know when he diminishes the Switch 2 as a console. This was not it.
And I feel like though that attitude is this should be a statement of fact. Like really, when you look at it, it should be a statement of fact, because if you look at the lineups for all, not just Nintendo consoles, but every console that comes out, more often than not, what comes out for the console at launch, not like a month later,
day
right?
one.
But day one, what you can buy when you go pick up your console the first day, like, or that kind of thing, or whatever's been packed in, it is usually pretty thin.
Yeah.
And it has been getting more and more that way over the years. Like the Switch was reasonably lucky in that, it launched with Breath of the Wild and it had Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and those are two really big heavy hitters.
I don't know that was day one.
Was it not?
No.
When we went and we picked up Breath of the Wild immediately.
Yeah.
Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I thought, was the same. Okay, you know
I
what?
don't think
Actually,
it
it doesn't
was.
matter because I actually don't know all the games that were out for the Switch 1 at that time. I know that like 1-2 Switch was out, I think, as a launch title,
But now,
but it's like there was some good stuff, and then there's like some stuff that isn't that good, and it was like a month. Okay, awesome, but it's like there's kind of this. They're not always that great of stuff that comes out when something first launches, anyway. And we expect that we would get more and more stuff. So you have like 7 years of development where this console's coming out. So you think that it's like we're going to have a lot of big heavy hitters that are going to come out, or that Donkey Kong Bonanza is going to launch day one and like all that kind of stuff. And they don't anymore. We shouldn't feel like it's too weird, because it's never dozens of AAA blockbusters from the get-go.
and it's no, don't worry. Like, there's going to be lots of games for the Switch 2. That's not going to be a problem.
Right.
In some ways, I mean, I do think that there's something about this sort of validating that, like, hey, maybe
And you
getting the FOMO from not getting a launch Switch 2 maybe
you
isn't
can
that
get
big a deal.
really pedantic about like launch day, launch window.
Oh, yeah.
The fact that the Switch
Window.
2 has backwards compatibility, which means a lot of your Switch 1 games are going to work for it. So technically there's all kinds of games you can have on the Switch 2.
Fair.
But a lot of times when people are saying, oh, launch day titles, they're talking about the new games that are designed for that system.
Yeah. And if nothing else, I
But
think
don't worry, Fortnite's available everywhere.
the idea of the game I want hasn't come out yet, that you just gave yourself a reason to not buy the thing immediately.
Yeah.
Which is not bad. Like
I don't intend to get a Switch 2 for myself personally.
Yeah.
Until I see something that I'm like, okay, yeah, I really want to play that game. Or there's now like whatever 5 or 6 games that I could see myself playing or really getting into, and now it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, I'm going to get one more because I'm afraid the console price will actually go up in the future.
I mean, there's always that.
Just, because the PS5, if I have this right, I'm fine with being corrected if I'm wrong on this. But when the Pro came out, people were expecting the PS5 to take a drop in price, and it did not. Didn't it go up?
Things have definitely
And,
been not lowering as much as.
And I already know I'm going to want a Switch 2 at some point. It probably won't come down in price by the time I want to grab one.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to want to play Hyrule Warriors, whatever the new title is called. Because I'm a sicko that way. But I'm just like, no, it's going to go up in price somehow. And then I'm going to be real sad.
Age of Imprisonment.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the new one.
So anyway, that being said, Mario Kart World does look pretty great.
The overworld stuff looks really interesting.
It looks like it's a lot more than just Mario Kart with more,
You can go.
It's like Mario Kart with more tracks.
You can free roam around stuff with your friends apparently, and there's like switches and stuff you can hit. So there's like things you can go finding.
There's like things you can do,
and like
imagine a lot of that'll be in modifications to unlock other tracks.
There's a rewind button, so you can rewind partway through the race to like try to get a jump again instead of having to go all the way around the track. I mean, you lose time because everyone else still goes forward, but like.
There's like Yoshi,
cool stuff.
Yoshi drink stands and stuff around.
Yeah, there's weird costumes based on food.
Yeah. I like everything that I hear about this because just the idea of we made an open world Mario Kart game sounds like a bet. Like it sounded like it was like a dare.
I mean, because the like open world like racing games on other devices, have definitely been around.
Right.
But a Mario Kart game, it does. I mean, to be honest, what it actually makes me think of is the Mario movie.
Ah, yes.
Like I
Yes.
remember watching the Mario movie being like, this is sort of fine as a movie, but this would actually be like a great video game.
Yeah.
Like a Mario video game that's, Mario Odyssey, but then you jump into a cart and do like a bunch of karting stuff, and then you jump into a different thing, like
get to another world kind of thing,
mixing up a bunch of the different Mario things together.
Right.
I mean, they're also like, it's 24 racers on the track now, which is the most they've ever done.
Yeah, and there's all sorts of new racing people,
like,
including a cow.
They've been doing this with like the 99 games and stuff as well, but like the whole do a race, and then as long as you're above a certain rank, you can continue into the next race where everybody else gets eliminated.
Right.
I feel like it's like kart racing versus car racing, which is where the open world thing gets me, right? Because it's like kart racing was always that kind of, you think the idea is it's like a go-kart track, even if it is Rainbow Road in space and you're floating above whatever, right? It's like it's still ultimately kart racing. There's weapons and whatever else. That's his whatever, and it just kind of struck me as like, and you took that and you made it open world, so you can drive around. You can once you pass through the course that you're racing on, you get to the finish line, and you keep going. Then you just keep going, and now you can go anywhere and try to find another course to get on and drive. And I'm like, I never thought about just taking laps out of Mario Kart and just being like, it is just driving a circuit, getting to the end of it, and being like, and now go do something else. I'm like, that is an interesting.
Well, if you,
presumably you can just drive tracks if you want to as well.
Yeah.
Almost assuredly.
But if you go from like one track to the next one and you have to like drive to the next track, what you've basically done is made golf happen, but with cars.
Right.
Golf is the only other sport I know where you're constantly like, all right, now I have to like.
So they should mash up Mario Golf and Mario Kart.
Yes.
It's like, what if we do golf, but we remove the golf and it's just the golf carts?
That's kart polo. But I like the idea of everybody pulls up to the first hole, they get out and they all golf, and they golf to the end of the whatever, and when they get to the end, they get in their carts and they have to drive, not just like drive to the next hole, because the next hole is like an entire circuit away. So you have to drive an entire Mario Kart race 3 or 4 minutes long, get to the end of that, that's the next hole, you get out and you golf again. And your position is based on how you finish at each hole.
Hey. So in Everybody Golfs, there was like a fishing mini game. Do you think Mario Kart has a fishing mini game somewhere in its open world?
Oh, yeah. Lakitu, though, would be the fisherman.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gotta, right? Yeah. Any open world thing has to have fishing.
It has to have a fishing mini game.
Yeah.
Except for Breath of the Wild, Here's the Kingdom. For fishing rods are cowards.
Yeah.
I mean,
They gave that a motorcycle.
Yeah,
there's a fishing mini game if you count going into the water,
Diving
and
into the
punching-
water and trying to
punching
catch
fish,
I don't, weirdly enough.
or going into the water in the middle of a thunderstorm and getting hit by lightning while wearing lightning-proof stuff and just killing all the fish in a circle around you.
Oh, is this how you play it, Paul?
That's really good.
I've done that before.
That's so great. Does it cook the fish too?
It should.
I think so.
I think it
yeah.
does.
It should.
yeah.
Usually, like if you
Yeah.
get the like apples and stuff on fire, it cooks things. So
Yeah. So if you
yeah.
zot something with lightning, it doesn't just explode. It
I'm
actually.
pretty sure if you
cooks
could
it.
if you could manage to zot like any of the wildlife with the lightning,
No,
it
it just
cooked.
kills them.
Oh,
yeah.
it just kills them. Okay.
Oh well, that's no fun.
Anyway, so yeah, Switch 2 looks neat, but if you didn't get it in on the pre-order, don't worry too much. It sounds like Nintendo's been they've been pretty clear about that they're making a whole buttload of these things.
Yeah.
So,
And I mean, feel pretty good that it's like you don't just have to force yourself to drop $700 to fulfill a FOMO thing. You know, that's kind of nice too to be like, I missed out my shot. That's maybe okay.
Just get whatever game your friends are playing to do the basic because it's game share, DS download thing to your Switch one.
Oh yeah.
And then you can all
still play a game.
Yeah.
and then now, so we did it when we were doing the search for this week on Thursday morning before the shooting. We were a little light on stories, I gotta say.
Right.
Partly because the AFK the night before, while a really good game, had gone late. So so people were getting a little bit toasted from that.
Fair.
Yeah, AFK actually takes out a number of checkpoint stories. More than you think.
And so we were wondering about what stories, and then a couple of stories actually came out Thursday morning.
Right.
That we were like, oh, we should actually talk about these. So the first one being huge bummer that Polygon has been bought by Valnet. That by itself, whatever. I don't know if that...
Not great on its own.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Valnet...
Is owned by the person who made Brazzers.
But
Just
it's
want to
like,
throw that out there.
But it's like, they're owned by one big Vox Media versus one big media conglomerate versus another, whatever. But the big part of that, though, is that in buying it, they also laid off a ton of the majority, it appears,
Yeah.
of the staff, including a lot of very, very talented people who have been following the, games industry for many, many, many years. And as we've made no secret of the fact that we get a lot of our stories and a lot of our sort of reporting from Polygon or things that Polygon linked to or put us on to.
Yeah, I would recommend, like, if there are any people that you particularly followed on Polygon, to check what else they do, because a number of them typically are on gaming related podcasts that aren't associated with Polygon.
That's true, yeah.
I did see, so I was on, this is tangential.
Okay.
But I was on Mastodon and I saw somebody post a quote that somebody had written that was like, you can't learn what a business values by looking at their vision statement, right? By their vision. You can only do that by looking at their budget. And it's not just, they say that about a city as well. Like, don't look, don't look at what the vision statement for a city is to figure out what they value. Look at their budget. That'll tell you what they value. And I'm like, but I was also like, but that's true of a business as well. And I think that's also like true of when you see an acquisition like this and you're like, okay, so what do we value as consumers of Polygon's news and stuff? What do we value from what Polygon creates for us? And I always felt, certain way about Polygon, that I was like, I believe I can trust them to do interesting articles, to do like even-handed coverage of stuff, to try to do good for coverage. I don't know what their editorial slant is because I haven't read enough articles to know what that is over the years. But I always felt like if I go to Polygon and I read an article about something for ChillPoint, I know I can rely upon the stuff that's in there. That then I can try to go verify it another place, and I'll usually get what I want out of that.
It's a good sort of, they do really good sort of overviews of things, and,
Right.
and lots of talk about important stuff.
And it's all driven by the people who work there, obviously, because the whole point is to write articles about this stuff. And to have somebody come in to say, we've bought this company now, and just overnight fire a bunch of people feels like, do you value the same thing that we value, which is that the kind of people-driven
And I mean,
writing?
the question being also, what do you like?
Yeah, what do you value for buying
Like,
this place?
is it that you just wanted the name Polygon? Like, what? I don't get why you would. Anyway,
You know, did what you value was the audience? And you're like, these people have a baked-in audience, and all we want is their audience for some reason. For people who are just going to keep coming to Polygon no matter what. Maybe that's the idea.
yeah. Are they just using the like high search ranking of the URL to do it for other stuff?
I mean, that's the thing. I don't know that we can relate to the people who bought the thing in the first place because it seems so weird to just
Yeah.
gut it.
Yeah.
And yet, I probably don't make anywhere near the amount of money of the people who bought the place. So I think our values are just very different.
I mean, that means you must be wrong. If they make more money than you do, then they're right. That's how it works.
I guess.
We all die someday, Paul. It's the great equalizer, and I've got a knife.
And I thought it was funny because, like, is it them that own? No, Vox Media owning SB Nation and The Verge and whatnot. And I was like, okay, well, SB Nation, I watched a bunch of the stuff that they made for a long, long time. And then I realized, I'm like, wait, I don't watch SB Nation anymore. I don't watch the stuff they make. I watch Secret Base, which is all the video production stuff that they did has become Secret Base. And I'm like, I don't think Vox owns any of that. It's all Patreon driven now. And I'm like, that's what I liked.
And to be clear, or to be honest,
Yeah.
Like I said, going from one big media conglomerate to another, like Polygon, the Polygon didn't originate with Vox Media.
No.
And stuff, and one of the people who the main or the first source that reported on this was, of course, Kotaku, and Kotaku obviously itself has gone through about 5 different, it was part of it was part of Gawker,
Yeah.
and then Gawker got split up and do stuff, and then Gawker, it's been through about several iterations of basically what happened to Polygon here, where some big company will buy it and like a large portion of the staff either are fired or quit in protest.
Yeah.
So, a lot of these companies, a lot of these organizations have done this, dealt with the same stuff, including the second half of this story, which is on the same day. It hasn't actually been confirmed
Okay.
officially, I guess.
But
The information has sort of come out about Giant Bomb,
okay.
which again, and Giant Bomb was a bunch of people who left. Originally, it was the guy who left GameSpot because this was like the original GameSpot had a brand deal, and then he gave the game a bad review, and then got fired.
Right. And he's like, well, fuck you then, I'll go form my own thing.
And then they started doing, and then
Fair.
Giant Bomb had kind of a cool, Kanan Lynch. It was a very sort of influential nascent video game journalism. Actually, actually they should probably have a separation between advertisement and editorial.
Yeah. Wasn't it a thing about that they bought Kanan Lynch, or the people who were marketing that bought a ton of coverage?
It was like a full site takeover.
Yeah, and then when they reviewed it, they're like, this game isn't great. And it's just like, we literally are advertising everywhere on the site, you're fired. And it's like, do you see that I'm the one that's this site takeover provides no value to the website other than it's just pure cash. I'm the one who's giving you the value because it's the ideas and the reviews that give you the value here. And it's like, yeah, but also you can't run a website on ideas and values if you're trying to pay people. You need cash too. So yeah.
Anyway, so apparently, and one of Giant Bomb's things is they have a, shall we say, irreverent editorial style.
Alrighty.
And they, they're one of the, they've been around for like this Kane Lynch thing obviously happened like a long time ago. And, they've been doing stuff and they've gone through a few different iterations of different things being bought by people and doing stuff. And they've, various sort of team members have left and different people have come by and, whenever you're particularly looking at Giant Bomb content, it was always better before when somebody else was there, right? Or
exactly.
whatever.
Well, yeah, that's what somebody says. About
There's
everything.
always that thing.
It's always better when Tina Fey was writing.
It's like, oh, they're crappy now because they lost whoever.
It was always better when Andy Samberg was on the cast. Yeah.
Whatever the case.
But I'm pretty sure Saturday Night Live did not do video game coverage.
No.
But then they very recently, so a little while ago, they got bought by Fandom of the terrible wiki fame.
Yeah. Don't forget that. That is important.
I appreciate everybody in the comments giving their own
unvarnished opinions.
Yeah, or their own experiences
way to
with
put it.
fandom as a wiki system.
I just want to say I know that you want to differentiate the term fandom as that versus just the word fandom, but all fandoms are bad.
Yeah, fandom.
Yeah. Even the ones I like hanging out in.
Your fandom is trash.
All of them are bad.
But the apparently a little fandom, Giant Bomb been running with fandom, sort of limping along, I guess.
Sure.
And then apparently at some point fairly recently, fandom laid the law down and basically said you're now PG-13.
Oh.
And they cut off, they said they stopped, they said you don't bother streaming anymore. And basically all they wanted them to do is
see the thing about them not doing the streaming.
Oh, yuck.
Yeah,
so
they basically
fill
cut
up
out
our
streaming
wikis.
And so they're basically all the things all the reasons why people liked Giant Bomb, they stopped doing.
Right.
They forced them to stop doing it. So anyway, that kind of got leaked out recently. And so people are like, and a bunch of people left. And so Giant Bomb, while not actually shutting down or, in the same way that Polygon isn't actually shutting down at the moment anyway. I don't quite know who's
layoffs,
still there.
Don't help, but...
Unfortunately, Giant Bomb does not seem long for this world, which is, again, suck.
Mm-hmm.
I won't say that I perused a lot of content on Giant Bomb, but it was cool. Yeah. I liked that they had a different voice and different style, so it was cool.
And who knows? Maybe a Saudi prince will come along and save them.
Oh, good.
Hey, what?
And then the second story that happened this morning. This happened late Wednesday or Wednesday afternoon or late Wednesday night.
Right.
This dropped where there's a big thing about the Epic Apple lawsuit, which apparently all this time has still been going. Appeals have been still going on.
Yeah.
Which I could have sworn it was a done deal, but.
Yeah,
and because they just we did a lot of reporting about this back when it was a thing, because it was one of those situations where new information would come out in drips and drabs, and so we would sort of be like, okay, we'll go back to that.
We'd get some of the fun information,
exactly.
Weird little things that people were trying to cover up, but documents hadn't been filed properly, so now people knew information they weren't supposed to.
And they leaked stuff. And my favorite thing about the Epic Apple stuff was that Epic kept pulling other people into the lawsuit. It was Epic versus Apple, and then Epic would be like, and you know what? Also, Sony is doing this stuff on their PlayStation store, and Microsoft is doing this stuff, and Sony and Microsoft be like, we're not part of this.
Yeah.
What? Oh, okay. And then like a bunch of their confidential data got leaked because it was part of the court filings. They're like, we're not even part of this.
Yeah.
Why are we here? And why did you
Yeah.
leak our stuff?
Yeah.
Anyway.
And by and large, like what happened here is that the lawsuit was over. Right?
Yeah.
In as much as it was like the decision has come down, it's like, Apple, you're going to do this, and Apple was like, fine, we will go and do that. Kinda.
Well, yeah, and the
Sure,
weird thing
we'll go
about
do
this
that.
story, about this lawsuit, is Apple sort of technically won the original lawsuit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the sense that the lawsuit was that Epic, that Apple had unjustly kicked Epic out of the App Store.
Yeah.
And the judge upheld that and said, no, that's fine. Apple is allowed to keep Epic out of the App Store because Epic violated the terms of service.
Yeah.
And then as an ancillary part of that ruling, the judge was like, but also,
Yeah.
Apple, you need to allow third-party payment systems, or allow people to, rather than paying in the App Store, go to a website and pay.
Like Spotify, when they say, like, now Spotify, and literally they just did this. There's a new update to Spotify that just came out that's like, there's information in the iOS app that now says, hey, do you want to buy a subscription? You can click on this link and go to our website, and you can buy a subscription here.
And so
And that's they were not allowing that before, and now it has to be allowed.
yeah, and now it has to be allowed. And so Apple didn't do that.
No.
Or they did it sort of in the
The letter of the law, yet not the spirit.
hardly even the letter of the
Not
law.
even really the letter.
Yeah, they
More of a-
basically futzed around with it, pretended that they were going to do it, and they were like, okay, well, we'll allow people to go, but if they go off site, for one thing, it'll first show them a what was repeatedly in the court documents called a scare screen.
Yeah.
And I believe actually Apple internally called it a scare screen.
Yeah.
Because a lot of their internal stuff got out, which is basically like Apple does not control any of this stuff. It could be bad.
Yes.
Are you sure you want to do this?
Well, the thing is, I'm like, okay, that thing initially, I do want to say that I'm like, I think that that's okay to say, hey, you download this app from the App Store, but now the app wants to take you somewhere else. Because I'm like, Spotify, probably not going to fuck around with you. But you know, match 3 yum yum fast break whatever that you got from some random thing, that could definitely try to steal your credit card information if you click on a link to take you outside. And I'm like, I don't have a problem with scare screens in that respect, that Apple's saying, we aren't liable for anything that happens when you click out of this, just to let you know.
but then I mean, one, they workshopped the wording on that to be maximally scary.
Exactly.
Also, they did stuff like, and this is all like documented because they apparently talked about it in emails, and they also did like, instead of the name of the app, they made it show the developer's name,
Right.
which in some cases makes it look more sketchy, because it's like, oh, I do Spotify, and then it's like, rather than Spotify sending to you, it's like Spotify Networks LLC or whatever is sending you to this
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
So it's like a different name.
Yeah.
Right, because that's one
and
of the things you're
those
supposed to
of us-
look
yeah,
for a scam is
for
to
scamming, yeah.
just to names match.
Or
and
often,
whatnot.
or like Facebook, like the Facebook app would send you to, and it would be like Meta is sending you to this. Like it's a completely different name.
Yeah. And if you're not savvy enough to know about that, you're going to think,
mean,
wait, it's telling me something different. I'm not supposed to click on things when they're different.
Weirdly, if I was in the Facebook app and then I tried to go subscribe to something and it was like, by the way, Meta's doing this thing, and be like, great, I should definitely delete Facebook.
Yeah. But anyway.
Also, pay attention to developer names.
Yeah.
And
Clearly.
so anyway, Apple played stupid games and got stupid prizes.
Yeah.
And the judge came back with as Graham said, a 80-page document And I feel like, this is definitely one of those situations where, a lot of legalese is very dry. Often judges don't get to, really, really screw the nails into somebody.
Yeah.
And in this case, they went all in. And some real,
Yeah.
not like I said, they have all this actual like documentation. They have, the Cove, the vice CFO took the stand and said we
hadn't made these decisions.
They said a bunch of we hadn't made decisions about how much people were going to have to pay and stuff. We just and then they had emails clearly indicating that they had made that decision months before.
Yeah.
Clear
Yeah.
lying on the stand, which
Yeah.
is very, very bad.
Yeah, it's like a thing you really don't want to get caught doing.
To the extent that the judge, in fact, said that they were forwarding the case to the
Federal
prosecutors with the idea that there's possibly some contempt of court charges,
Yeah.
some actual criminal charges that could
Yeah.
be.
Now-
This is why shows like Judge Judy are, I think, as popular as they are, because it's just fun to watch
If they had to
a
litigate this
person just like tear someone down.
if they had to litigate this in Judge Judy's court, she would take none of this crap.
So the what is interesting too is that. So I went to Ars Technica to read the article that was Fortnite will be coming back to the iOS store. That was the headline, and I was like, nobody said anything about that. I don't know what that's about, but I don't know why that's coming up. And it's Tim Sweeney saying, "So yeah, we'll be back in the Apple iOS App Store. We'll be back in there by the end of the week, and we'll be doing that. Oh, this fine. We'll be able to do this." And it's like, no, there's nothing in the order that says you get to come back to the App Store.
I love there's things where it's like Tim Sweeney extends an olive branch
Yes.
to Apple and agrees to come back to the App Store.
So that's still shitty behavior, that whatever, right? But it's like it's obviously saying a thing that isn't true. And when I see something that isn't true in a headline, I want to like dig through the article and be like, but at what point did they say this? Because I read another article the other day where a headline was like, this is the thing that it was like another Ars article that was like a Redditor invented a old system from the 90s to do online age checks or whatever. This is all USA based, so some of you might not be interested in any of this, but it's all about porno. And I started reading the article.
Have my interest.
Yeah, I was starting to read the article to be like, oh, well, what did this Redditor invent? This new thing that was actually something that we were using during the it was being used in the 80s. I think I went down about 17 or 20 paragraphs before I finally found a thing that was like, this guy on Reddit proposed that why don't we do things in this way? And was probably told by everybody, we tried that shit in the 90s and this is the bad reason why you don't do that kind of thing. It was basically buying a anonymous key code from a third-party site that you could say, now I'm 18 years old, I have this key code, and you use it once on a website to prove, yes, I am over 18.
I feel like that's something I could game.
Yeah. And
I mean, I don't need to,
the
but I
whole
feel
idea
like
is
I could.
it means you don't have to give your credit card company to a pornography website. You're giving it to a trusted third party, somebody else that's not a pornography website. And you're not paying the porno website for porn. You're paying this person for a thing. And I was like, why the fuck is your headline about this one dude who said a thing on Reddit? You made it sound like he came up with this amazing idea, but it turns out we've been using it during the 90s. And I thought that's the point of a headline is, what's the focus of the article? So to see that, and then to see this other thing about Fortnite's coming back to iOS, and I'm kind of like, what's happening at Ars Technica where their headline editors are writing clickbait? And I'm like, this is some bullshit.
And let's be fair, it is not always the person who writes the article who titles the article.
Right.
It doesn't mean that they don't, but part of the editorial's job is to try to make the headline something that people will click on now.
So I read the comments because I'm trying to see, is anybody else on ours going to call out the headline editor for being like, why would you pick such a stupid headline for this Fortnite coming back to iOS thing? Nobody was. A lot of people are basically like gleefully dancing about this, like, oh, Apple got what's coming to them. And I'm kind of like, wow, that's interesting that your focus, okay, but I guess that is what the article's about, so whatever. But then two people get into a slap fight because I'm like, that's all that happens these days in comments, even at Ars Technica now. somebody was like, well, did you read the article? And the person was like, did you read the order? Because I read the 80-page order, and it says that Apple is being not Rowan, not VP or senior VP or whatever, Rowan being referred for criminal contempt. Apple Inc. is being referred to federal prosecutors for criminal contempt, and whatever the federal prosecutors decide to pull out of that, but it's like the company itself is being referred to prosecutors for criminal contempt, and I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, obviously, you messed up super bad to get a company worth trillions of dollars referred to for criminal contempt. You messed up super bad because of that. But what happens? And I don't know enough about the legal industry or legal system or whatever in the United States to even be able to understand what happens there. But a lot of people are in a lot of trouble as a result.
Yeah, they get the prize of like consequences.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Phil Schiller, the VP of marketing, was the one being like, hey, what if we didn't do this really stupid sounding thing that you're saying we should do? I don't think that's a good idea. And then everyone else like, but I think it would be fine.
Yeah, man.
And Tim Cook was like, well, they say it would be fine, so I think we should do it.
Yeah, I think that's Phil Schiller comes out like that's life goals, you know?
Yeah.
Like hope that if your a scathing ruling comes down against your company and all your emails are poured over with a fine-tooth comb,
Yeah.
your like act in live your life as if that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And that you actually want to that you want to look good. Like that's I'm very happy. And I think
write all your emails as if your integrity is at stake.
I think John Gruber was saying that like the fact that I believe the guy who was on the CFO guy,
Yeah.
who was the one who sort of pushed the bad idea,
Yeah.
is gone. Like is a planned
retirement. Yes.
Whether that was related, we don't know. Mm-hmm. But Gruber was like the fact that Phil Schiller is still there and still and comes out like that's sort of the one
Shining light,
not a silver lining, but like if he had also left, if he was no longer working there as well, or if that part of the story didn't exist, that there like if there wasn't any pushback within the company, that would have made this much worse.
Yes.
It's still very bad.
It's still very bad.
But
and I'm not happy about it because I own Apple stock. I'm not very happy about it. But at least it seems like there's still a bit of like integrity to be found in the company at that level, and it will probably be, thanks to this order, will probably help to reinforce more of that integrity. I imagine. It
is definitely not a good look on Tim Cook to be not doing the stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe this is how court orders usually end, but the thing, Graham did the whole quote where he's like, where the last paragraph of the thing where it's like, that it thought that the court would tolerate such insubordination was a gross miscalculation. As always, the cover-up made it worse. For this court, there is no second bite at the apple. Which is definitely a little more flowery than I think I usually think. But then, just by itself on the next line, in bold, it is so ordered.
Yeah.
Maybe all court filings end with it is so ordered.
They might all end that way.
But in this particular case, it seems like pretty much like that's a gavel drop.
Yeah, that's me saying you don't get to ignore this. And the fact that it is so ordered and it is like every word is capitalized at the beginning.
Orders do always end with it is so ordered. Okay.
Yeah, like when you
is
make
every
an order,
word capitalized when they do it? Because that really seemed like
when when you order food at a restaurant, that's how you always have to let the server know that you're done ordering.
Yeah,
it is so ordered.
Yeah.
When we were in Japan, we would be ordering food at a table or whatever, and they'd be asking, what would we like, and we'd order our meals, and they would kind of act like and something else? Like, like, is there anything else that you want kind of deal? And I'd have to be like,
Do you just like keep ordering food?
well, until you're done. And I'm like, I actually don't know how to say, no, that's all. Thank you. That's all we want to eat or whatever like that. So I would just say owari, which is the end.
Yep.
And they laugh because they're like, okay, I see what he's saying.
We were there for a while, and Beach never bothered trying to look up how to say it.
No.
But you know what?
They understood, so I didn't.
As maddening, I know everybody's got their opinions about Apple and Epic, and that's pretty maddening. But I feel like the outro piece has an even more maddening story to it. Could you tell me about this Hollow Knight thing?
Yeah. So Silk Song, it's gonna be playable September 18th.
Okay, we have a release date.
That is locked in.
That's not a release date, Beach.
It is going to be playable at Australia's National Museum of Screen Culture, the ACMI.
When's the game come out?
They have not said.
Why not?
A lot of people assume it's going to be before it's playable
I
at the
don't
museum.
believe them. They had a demo at PAX Australia years ago, and that never.
Now, what I want dearly for Silksong right now is I want it to actually come out at a whole bunch of gaming museums and like video game museums and computer museums and stuff. I want it to be playable in all those places and nowhere else for like a month.
I was trying to figure out a take like for a story because I wrote the coming up on this, and I was trying to think of a story or a way to do this. I was like, where it's going to be released on September 18th, but at that point, due to some sort of temporal wormhole, it will somehow be so old that it's in the museum already.
Right. I see how that. Yes. Okay.
Even though it had just come out, it is also old enough to be in a museum.
Oh my God.
Also, as just a side note, no offense to Australians, but it is very annoying that the name of this museum is ACMI. That is it. That is the name.
Oh, interesting.
It used to be.
Yeah.
That's why. So all the articles refer to it as Australia's National Museum of Screen Culture. It used to be the Australian Centre for Moving Image.
Okay.
But then they changed because it stopped being like a relevant,
like a central focus,
or they wanted to expand its thing.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So they took that away. But they just made the acronym the official name.
Well, like MoMA, like people just calling MoMA.
But
right?
MoMA
is still the Museum of Modern Art.
Yeah. And so if you say it's at the ACMI, it's not even clear that that's a museum.
Yeah.
Like it's not the Australian, like you can't say the Australian something.
Yeah.
Because that's not the name of it anymore.
Where do we go play Silk Song? I think down at the YMCA.
Well, I mean.
Yeah, Australian Centre for the Moving Image.
Xbox said
but that's not what it's
that
called anymore.
Silk Song would be day one on Game Pass.
Well,
on the day that it came out.
Game Pass still exists.
Mm-hmm.
Currently.
Now, it says it'll be playable. Do they like? I didn't read the article. Do they mean that literally there's going to be a controller there at the museum so you can play it, or do they mean that?
From what I understand, yeah, it's a exhibit on Australian
culture,
Australian video game. Like it's a specific exhibit that they're releasing on because Team Cherry is Australian.
Maybe
they said the Xbox thing like 2 years ago, 6 years ago was the Switch release date bullshit of like it's totally going to come to Switch one day.
Samurai. Does Samurai Punk have anything going on at the ACMI then too? Because they're also Australian, right? Yeah. And then and they need to get Aggro Crab down there because their PR person is from New Zealand.
The other great thing about this is, for the coming up, we show a video during the coming up. Where when Kathleen's like reading coming up, blah blah blah, and they'll I try to find a video that's like relevant. So, so I was like, Silk Song. They had a little bit of the trailer. They had a little.
They sure did.
They had a little teaser thing during the Switch 2.
Mm-hmm.
I'll grab that video. So I went, Silk Song trailer or Silk Song teaser.
Yeah.
And then there's the one on the Team Cherry YouTube channel. I'll grab
That
that.
sounds perfect.
Put it in. It's 2 seconds, and then it looked fine because the thumbnail was good. It's 2 seconds of the previous Silksong gameplay, and then it goes into a Rickroll.
Ah, perfect.
That's and
Good.
that
Yes.
Yeah.
and that's the official that and they released
Yeah.
that 3 months ago on their official site, on their official YouTube channel. They have not released anything on their YouTube channel now, like the actual teaser.
This game had better be so good.
That's the thing. This game's either going to be really good and it'll all be fine, and then we can finally get through this horror show, or it's not going to live up to the hype that
Like,
everybody has gone way
Even
overboard on.
if it's like a mid, like if it's a 7 out of 10 or a 7.5 out of 10, even if it's just that, people won't give it that. They will just call it a 4 or a 3, or
Isn't
they'll
it-
just excoriate
Yeah.
it.
Like, is it anticipated to be more than like just like more Hollow Knight? Isn't that what everybody wants?
What
Like,
people
is it gonna
wanted
be more.
So what
than
people
that?
wanted was more Hollow Knight, but the reason Silksong exists is because it
No.
was supposed to be you could play as Hornet in Hollow Knight.
Right.
Yeah,
but it's now a
originally it was
different
going to
thing.
be a piece of DLC, and then they feature creeped themselves into oblivion. But like the Hollow Knight story is all about descending into a kingdom. Silksong's supposed to be about ascending and kind of like an opposite kind of thing. So
But they're like
it's a different story.
right. But like it's not. There isn't this idea that it's going to be something wildly, amazingly different. Like
No,
we
it
know
shouldn't
it's
be.
basically going to be. Like
I don't know. I
Hollow
feel
Knight,
like
but
they
cool.
could shadow drop it, and it turns out it's just some sort of match 3 thing, and this has been a long play prank thing all along.
Yeah.
Sure, maybe.
But-
I mean, to be clear, I'm not saying that Hollow Knight's bad. I really, really like Hollow Knight.
Oh yeah, me too.
And I'm sure Silksong will be
Yeah.
great.
I never thought you said that.
But
just to
it's
be
like,
clear.
but it's like we kind of know what it'll be like as long as in it, or the sort of best case scenario is it's a really good Hollow Knight game.
Well, sure, but people's perception of things really like changes how they feel about some stuff. Like when there are games that come out that sometimes are so hyped that when you go to play it, if you've been caught up in that hype cycle and then it kind of doesn't match that feeling you had,
Yeah.
you're kind of like, this game's garbage. And then like a few years later, you're like, actually, this game's pretty good. And that's more of what I'm expecting.
The thing I was going to say was that this game had better be so good that everyone is satisfied and they're like, this was a lot of fun. I had a great time playing this. It's like it'll feel as good as when you first played Hollow Knight, right? Like, that kind of idea.
I mean, that'd be nice.
Because if it is not, I don't think anyone will trust Team Cherry to make a game again. Like that, and I mean, I know that's funny to say, but it's also in a way it's like I think people would actually be like, you strung us along, you didn't say anything about, and in a way they owed their Kickstarter backers some explanation because this is supposed to be DLC, it's part of Kickstarter, so it's like
Yeah.
you'd think they'd be a little more straightforward, but also it's important for a development team to be dark on things because it keeps you focused on that instead of
Sure.
trying to like satisfy an audience always asking for more. But I'm like, people might look at the next game they make and be like, fucking Team Cherry, I don't give a shit about what they're making next.
Well-
I don't want to play anything they have to do with because it's just going to be delayed and delayed and delayed over and over. You'll have lost trust with the people who you're hoping to build hype for you.
I don't think you'll get people like if the game's really good. I don't think you get actually people who are like, oh, I never want to play a Team Cherry game again. That's like your game came out and it's garbage, and you put a lot of time into this, and I feel strung along.
Yeah.
Your game constantly gets delayed, but you finally get it out. Turns more into, hey, we're announcing another game. It's like, great, I'll see you in 10 years, and let me know when it's out.
Like
That's more of what that turns into.
I feel it'll be a lot like John Romero, his reputation after Daikatana, or Peter Molyneux's reputation, going into Black and White, and then everything he made after that. That it's like Black and White was a game that people enjoyed, but they were also like, this is not exactly the way I thought it was supposed to come out, and now I feel a little bit lied to, and then that just kind of keeps dropping off. And it's like every time you have these people who make an amazing thing, and then you're waiting for them to release their next amazing thing. We build them up in our heads to a certain point, and people will turn on you in an instant because they'll be like, you didn't make anything that was as good as the next thing, or you built such hype. And it's like Team Cherry hasn't been building really any hype, but now they've been leaning into that with the Rickroll or with like other like posting a chocolate cake and stuff like that. And it's like there's nothing about that where it's like we just did an innocent thing. We didn't mean to we didn't mean to poke the bear. It's like, I feel like a lot of these have been bear pokes, that you've been trying to get people agitated because it's fun. It's because it's, it's interesting to do.
I think there's a bit of difference with Team Cherry in the sense that have they done anything other than Hollow Knight? Like, was Hollow Knight their first game?
They did I think it was a Game Jam game before that where the Hollow Knight character kind of comes from, but I'm not sure that they've done a published game before that.
Yeah. So, but I mean, it's like, they made a really good game, and they, talking about this other game. So it's like I don't even feel like, I don't know, for me anyway, as somebody who really enjoyed Hollow Knight, but haven't been following the Silk Song stuff that's closely, it's just like, I don't feel like Team Cherry has this like giant reputation. It's like they made a good game.
An excellent game.
An excellent
they sure
game.
Did.
But it's not like they have this huge reputation that they need to uphold.
Right.
So yeah, I'm
so it ultimately shouldn't
fine.
matter.
Yeah.
But there's a difference between how people should feel about something and how people will feel about something. And I think that when it comes to people who are like us, who are a little more calm about these things, to be like, I can't wait to play the game, take all the time you need, and oh lol, it's funny that it's late, that'll never be a problem for us. We'll play the game and have a good time. The people who are kind of feel like they're way too intense about it, I'm like, they're not going to have a good time no matter what happens.
Yeah, probably. But I mean, like, I don't
think
care.
It's allowed
in the sense of like
minority though. Like, I don't think that's.
I hope it is allowed tiny minority.
I don't care in the sense that, oh, they're going to take a long time to make the game. I care in the fact that every time something gets talked about on this game where they show it off on Xbox, they show it off Nintendo, they do this thing, there's this feeling the game's coming out soon.
Yes.
But then it doesn't.
Yeah.
And I feel a little lied to at that point. And I'm like, please stop telling me the game might come out soon. Just tell me when it's like, go do whatever and tell me when it's ready.
And I think it's, it's gotten to the point of kind of memeing, right? Where like a lot of the people who are like, oh, is it going to be Silk Song? Actually, like don't even care about it really at this point. They just
it's just a thing.
It's
the thing you yell at in a chat room that's been
it's like people
so overdone that it actually makes presenters angry now because it's watching a bunch of people ask for a game that's not coming out while you're trying to put on a performance for your own stuff is really disheartening.
Yeah.
It's like nobody actually, people don't really want to hear Freebird. They just want to yell at it. Anyway, let's move on to a couple stories that didn't make it into the game, didn't make it into the episode. For one thing, hey, in the new, another thing about the new update, you can hide games now.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So if you've got some, shall we say, questionable games on your dashboard
For Switch?
yes, which there are a surprisingly large number in the Switch eShop.
Oh, did I see a lot of them in Japan? Holy shit.
Yeah.
I was shocked.
There was a story we actually talked about, I think it was last week or the week before, that there's a couple of games that they are not releasing on, that they talked about that they're not releasing on Xbox because of Microsoft's censorship requirements were larger than they were willing to handle.
Fair.
But it's out on PlayStation and on Switch.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, you can now hide your game card. So that screen. Heather was just showing me the screen that had all the game cards on it.
Yeah.
You can hide games on that screen if you don't want other people seeing that you have that game card.
Yeah, I assume it's mostly like if you have because it shows you the game cards that you have per account, right? So I'm assuming in the best context, it's I have some 18 plus games.
Yeah.
That are shooters or whatever.
Or just
they're probably porno.
Or maybe there's some games that I just don't want to.
Maybe I don't want to see them. I don't want to lend them out.
These games.
But I can hide them so that my kids can't see that I have them because they're not old enough.
Yeah.
And I don't want them to ask about it.
Yep. I don't want my kids playing Saints Row yet. That kind of idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. So rather just want them to just not know that we have it. So.
Or maybe you want to hide a bunch of them because you're done with them, but you don't want to take them off the system yet, and you don't want to feel overwhelmed by the amount that you're seeing.
There's that too.
It's true.
Like there's plenty of reasons.
You can't hide a borrowed game to keep it longer, though, Earth and One. That is very clever and is the kind of thing that your friends would definitely do in high school to you. But yeah. Oh, dude, I don't know where I put it.
Speaking of games that you might want to hide, I guess, Flappy Bird
Oh. Is it
is back again.
in POG form?
Ben.
Wasn't the last time Flappy Bird back that was like an NFT thing or something bad?
So this is non-NFT Flappy Bird.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, we did a story about this a couple months ago. Weirdly, on Signal, a company was promoting their release of a new Flappy Bird game. The company called Flappy Bird Publishing had acquired or had got the copyright or to the name Flappy Bird
Okay.
because the original author had let it lapse because he doesn't care about it.
Right. Yeah.
He sort of wanted to distance himself from the thing because he was concerned. I mean, for one thing, he was sort of getting a lot of flack about it, and also he actually didn't like the way that people were getting like addicted to it.
Yes.
And so he voluntarily took it down off the App Store and stuff.
You're saying that people really got into a flap over this?
Yeah. Now, of course, in the meantime, there are tons and tons and tons of Flappy Bird clones come out. Flappy Bird is not that complicated a game.
I had it on my Palm Pilot.
But this is official Flappy Bird, or at least they have the name Flappy Bird. And so that whatever that the cryptocurrency or the NFT version of Flappy Bird apparently is not a thing anymore.
Good.
And it's an Epic Game Store for Android exclusive. And they've said that they say in the news release that it is monetized solely by ads and in-app purchases in the form of cosmetic helmets.
Okay, I was gonna say what could you possibly buy in game, but yeah, cosmetics.
The game will never have any Web3 elements, which, if you recall from last week, Web3 is the new way that people are saying NFT.
Right.
So screenshot that because people like to say things will definitely never have a thing forever.
Yeah.
And then somehow
But I thought
forever happens.
this was the future of gaming.
There's
Web3, no.
They say they're going to release.
games are-
So anyway, there's a big. They're like, oh, it's like Flappy Bird after many years is being released. You'll love it again. Blah blah blah. And it's like, it's just Flappy Bird. It was very popular for. It hit a certain window of time that people. It became people got into it.
Wasn't it also a free game or something too?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, like.
Oh no, I think it was 99 cents or something.
Or maybe it was.
Oh,
99
one of the
cents.
but
cheaper
he
games,
made a lot of
like-
money off it and was like, "Oh shit,
Okay.
I made too much money off this. This needs to stop."
And it was just like it's it's a great. It kind of reminds me of like Wordle or something, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like it's not a very complicated game. It's not. It's definitely been done before, but it was just hit at the right time.
Yeah.
It was really slick.
Yeah.
Really nice presentation. Kind of got it, people just got into it, and
If you could
it
program,
just kind of hit just exactly right.
if you could program your phone to flash a series of lights at you that triggered a dopamine release every time
Pretty
you
sure
watched
they
it,
do that already.
if you could just do that, people would pay 99 cents for that,
think
and they would
that's-
stare at their screen all the
I
time.
think
Pretty sure that's
that's a Black Mirror episode.
It probably
it's Candy
is.
Crush, isn't it?
It's Candy Crush, essentially, yeah. But yeah, that kind of it. Yeah, you're right. Flappy Bird was just like it was a satisfying thing to do. It's like me playing threes. You just like it's very satisfying for me to merge two numbers into another number and to do that and to have it happen multiple times. And it's just like and the numbers get bigger and I'm like this is all very satisfying. And Wordle's the same way. It's very satisfying to get your green boxes. And I'm like, yeah, I
I
get
find
it.
Wordle stressful.
Well, but it's different things for different brains, right? Like, some people really like that thing of I have to do this one thing, but yeah.
I only have 6 guesses. Or is it 5? One of them.
If you could put a headset on and you could make little discs go into little cones and you could just have a really good feeling every time that happened, I think that would solve a lot of problems in the world.
Would it get you to be quiet?
I think that's just called like doing drugs.
Yeah.
World of Tanks.
Oh,
You're welcome.
is that a world of tanks?
Tanks, not fangs.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Like, is everything
Thanks.
made of tanks?
Thanks for the tanks. I assume so. I assume everything is made of tanks in the game World of Tanks.
It's like the shark
wait,
dimension.
It's like the shark
wait, no.
dimension.
What kind of tanks? Are we talking like tank tops?
Talking
Well, all
like
sorts of tanks.
water tanks.
They have, I
Water
believe,
tanks.
I believe they are advertised as having the largest selection of tanks anywhere.
So I can get a tie-dye tank.
Perhaps. Anyway, the game World of Tanks, if you're not familiar, it is a very popular sort of tank simulation type game.
Right.
You drive around, shoot tanks, shoot at each other. It's one of those like games that you see advertised a lot, like in front of YouTube videos and stuff. I don't have any strong opinions about it. It always seemed like one of those games that seems like vaguely scummy in terms of like probably has a ton of microtransactions and
Yeah, I can see that.
kind of stuff.
Because you're always buying upgrades.
But it is what it is.
It is what it is.
But it also, speaking of is what it is, it was being, or it is produced by a company that was, so the company sort of is in a couple of different parts.
Oh, okay.
But the largest portion of it used to be in Russia. And because because when the war in Ukraine and everything started, they started moving their assets out of Russia.
Makes sense.
Good.
To other sort of parts of their company. So Wargaming is the name of the name of the sort of main company.
Okay.
But they still had a subsidiary in Russia called Lesta Studio.
Okay. And it's a former Wargaming subsidiary too. So at some point they kind of spun that.
Oh, okay. I guess
out.
they must have completely spun that off.
Interesting. Okay.
But anyway, because of the and so as now that they are not in Russia anymore, they've been quite vocal about their support of Ukraine. In fact, have been doing charity things and stuff in support of Ukraine.
Right.
Which obviously Russia doesn't like very much. So Russia has now actually seized the assets of this Lesta studio, which they see as the remnants of Wargaming. Now, according to Wargaming, it's like, that's not us anymore, guys.
Yeah.
So,
You're going after a bunch of people who we used to work with, but that's not any.
Yeah, but guilt by association.
the great part about this is the Prosecutor General's office states that they are part of an association that carries out extremist activities.
Of course they are.
To support this claim, they attached publications with the following headlines. Wargaming launched a charity project with Ukrainian content and games to raise money for ambulances.
These
Terrible
terrorists
extremist activities.
where they get ambulances. Yeah.
Anyway,
sucks.
so
Gross.
it so
That's how you know you're the good guys.
Yeah, Wargaming has said that basically like this came out and everyone's like, oh no, and Wargaming is like, don't worry, that's not us anymore.
Yeah.
So we're not part of that. Hopefully,
I mean,
hopefully the people who are part of that,
Yeah,
part
it's
of Lesta
like-
Studio, are not in trouble.
Getting
it's
disappeared.
Like, okay, not worried about wargaming. Worried for others' reasons.
Yeah.
But yeah,
They're going to get disappeared to a prison in the United States.
But yeah, I mean, if you are a fan of World of Tanks, I think you can feel reasonably good about playing it. You know, sometimes there's a couple of games that are in that area of the sort of war simulation type things that are being published by companies based in that area of the world that are a little bit questionable. Apparently, World of Tanks is not one of them.
Not one of them.
At least not for that reason.
Like to hear that.
Yeah,
I mean,
at
I don't
least-
really,
I
don't
mean,
know. I don't know
know
much about their company. I
I
don't play
don't-
this game.
I
I
say-
don't. I haven't looked into anything.
Yeah, don't say. I have no thing about maybe they do other terrible
It's just
things,
more. It's
but-
like that one thing where it's like, hey, this person raises puppies, and you're like, oh, that's a good thing, and then you find out they like do something, they commit genocides, and you're like,
But they do raise puppies.
I'm so confused.
So, one of the things about the Switch 2, back to the Switch 2,
Yeah,
is that
switching it up a lot.
they've got this thing where games, physical games, might not be on the thing, or might not be on the cart. Which,
Oh yeah, this whole
for
weird
those of us
game key card thing.
who play PC games and Xbox and PlayStation,
Yep.
to be honest, it's not that much of a surprise.
Nope.
We've been in this room for a while.
And also, even with the Switch, like LA Noire was known for this, is that it came out and only half the game was on the card.
Third parties generally did a thing, and it was annoying because
Yeah.
stuff was not
and you
well
had to download
labeled,
the other half onto your
or
Switch
it was
remotely.
in tiny print, or
Almost done saying anyway. Yes. So game key cards.
So yeah, Nintendo is, I guess, in some ways, basically they've codified what was previously kind of an ad hoc system of different games would do different things in this game key cards. And
I appreciate the warning.
yeah, to be fair to the, like, I think in the context of doing this in terms of like basically having the disc or the cartridge is basically just a dongle that gives you authorization to download the game. In that context, they have in the same way as the like digital or the game cards on the Switch, lending them. They've sort of done everything they can to make it feel like a physical game,
Right.
like you really have the game.
But it's a dongle.
In the sense that the authorization goes with the card.
Yes.
In the same way as a real game would.
You know, just like Quark Express.
So you can take that card and you can sell it to somebody and they've got it. So it's not like, because there also have been things with like Xbox and PlayStation and stuff where like the first person who gets the game, it now like locks that to your account.
Yeah.
And that kind of bullshit. So, you know, they've done what they can on it. It's still not great. But the context of this particular story is limited run games who often do the physical versions of game, like popular eShop games, indie titles that might not have a physical release. Limited Run will do cool limited run special editions of them with like map books and steel books and.
But predominantly,
stuff.
what you get from limited run games is you get a package with a thing inside that contains the game.
yeah,
So
That's
the
kind
upcoming
of their thing.
The upcoming, in fact, they do like Super Nintendo and old and that, like super old games. too.
yeah.
So the upcoming release of the collector's edition of Raidu Remastered: The Mystery of the Soulless Army is going to be coming out on the Switch 2, and it's going to be $250 US.
For the collector's edition.
But it's a collector's edition.
I
This
mean,
is-
yeah.
and
But
the collector's
still.
edition, it's got like a figure, a statue, a plush, soundtrack. Statue, plush, soundtrack, enamel pin,
It's a cute kid.
a steel book, DLC bonus,
Yeah.
a digital Steam code,
Oh, wow.
certificate of authenticity, but if you go down and look at the there's a thing. Is it just? I think maybe it's just on the.
Maybe it's just on the Switch
It's just on the
order page.
on the order page for it. It's you go down here. You go down the order page, and it's like Mystery of the Soulless Army game asterisk Switch 2 Collector's Edition comes with game keycard.
And I mean, PC Collector's Edition comes with the digital Steam code. Okay, well,
Yeah.
that's understandable.
So anyway,
Yeah.
Except I thought the whole point of limited run was to get a physical copy.
that's
Like,
also
I
what
mean,
other
I know-
people thought too.
I know
Yeah.
technically that's a physical copy, but it's not really. It's not what we mean by that.
Because it might as well just be a case that has a piece of paper that has a 15-digit code or whatever written on it so you can download it from the eShop, is what
I
it
mean,
feels like.
which people have done
Yes.
and been rightly
Excoriated for.
lambasted for it. Yeah. So yeah. Hopefully people will abuse them about this, and either they'll fix it for this or they won't do this again. But
The reason why it sucks, because it's like, well, yeah, so you're just getting a digital copy of the game. It's like, yeah, but the reason why this sucks is because I don't mind the game keycard thing. Like, I'm like, it ain't great. And I don't think I want to buy any third-party Switch 2 games that are game key
Not
cards.
particularly. It's a little bit better than just code in a box.
Yeah, but it is also that thing of, it's when I went to the store and I buy an NES game on a cartridge, I go home with it, I put it in my NES and I play it. I don't have to wait to download it for one thing. But I still have my copy of Excitebike from when I was like younger, and I can still put that in my NES and start it up. I don't have to wait for my NES to connect to a server that is no longer operational to download Excitebike. That
Yeah.
is the problem here.
go to bed, Grandpa.
Right? Like, it's like,
Your type of game is old-fashioned.
my method is like eroded completely. The things that I loved about having a physical copy of the game was that at least this fucking thing works on what I have, and if I can't have anyone take it from me unless they come into my house and they take it out of my hands. It belongs to me. And that's not how it works anymore. And it's not how any
Until Reggie
gaming company
comes up to your door.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And like,
I
you don't
mean,
even work for them anymore, dude.
I like the fact that
I only take special jobs.
they've given it such a name, and it has like a big thing that's like this is basically you're gonna have to download this game, so it's very obvious on the box as opposed to when you buy a copy of a game where sometimes it's like, oh, you can have Final Fantasy X and X-2 on this thing, and you open it and it's like there was a thing on the back that was like, by the way, X-2 is a download code, so
yeah.
it's not actually there.
And the thing I don't know if this has been actually talked about. Maybe this has been revealed, but I'd be curious, like when you like whatever Final Fantasy X and X-2 or the thing where you get like half the game on the cart.
Yeah, L.A. Noire did that.
L.A. Noire.
Yeah.
The other half of the game downloading from Nintendo, or is the other half of the game downloading from the developer?
I think it is from the eShop.
Probably from the eShop.
I think they have everything has to go through the eShop.
Because that to me that would be I do think that this way, at least doing it this way, as Heather said, like it's shown, and it's sort of, rather than kind of an ad hoc system.
It just feels better, like
It's-
you know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
And theoretically, Nintendo is sort of standing behind this in the sense that like they are saying that this will be available for however long they do that. But yeah,
And I know that the thing is, I know my copy of Wonder Boy 3: The Dragon's Trap for Switch that I own a copy of. I own the PlayAsia, the one from PlayAsia it was Korean. That's what it is. It's like the multi-Asia one that also has English. I know the copy of the one that I own is it works and it's mine and it's all on the cart. And therefore, I also know that if Nintendo decided for whatever reason someday that they didn't want me to play that game anymore, they would issue an update that would not allow people to play that game on the Switch anymore. That is as much a thing they can do as much as Sony and Microsoft can do on their consoles as well. It's just be able to be like, you can't play this game anymore. We've decided you can't. I know that exists. No one has done that yet to do that. And I know it's a possibility. So I know that even these days, owning a physical copy of something is like, there's the remotest chance that you might never be allowed to play this game on their system.
Yeah.
That is a vanishingly small thing compared to someday you're not going to be able to download a game for your 3DS. Oh, that day's already come and gone, right? We can't do that anymore. So if you had a 3DS cart that had to download the game from the eShop for whatever reason.
I'm pretty sure you can currently still download stuff you own. You just can't buy new things.
Okay.
But eventually that will get shut off too.
Exactly.
Anyway.
So.
Yeah, as Wild Peaks says, on the PC side, obviously, they're saying you get the Steam version or whatever, and again, that can be taken away from you. There are people like GOG or whatever where it's like you actually have the physical, you actually have not physical, but you have the files that make it up. And the nice thing about PC is literally nobody can take that away from you.
Yeah. Only you can do it by fucking up your system.
You can erase your own system and mess things up. But,
exactly.
I've done that.
You have...
And then I learned how to restore it.
With PC, you have control over your own system, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
I accidentally deleted some Windows 3.1 system files when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
And then the system stopped working.
The old System 32 delete?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I learned how to put it back together, so it was all okay. Before my parents came home. Not that they would have noticed. They didn't really use the computer.
They've been doing the Switch 2 experience stuff, where you can actually get a chance to play a Switch 2 for a short amount of time. But it's long enough that somebody has beaten Breath of the Wild. Possibly... As people have said, possibly the first person to beat Breath of the like Switch 2 Enhanced Edition of Breath of the Wild in the world.
That's awesome.
At least outside Nintendo.
So they got the speedrun record.
Yeah. So they it took them 7 minutes to speedrun Breath of the Wild.
That rules.
Neat.
I would have loved to have been the rep standing next to them watching this, like, you have a 10-minute play time to play. What do you want to play? Like Breath of the Wild. I was like, all right. And then they start doing this stuff and like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And then
well, I mean, I've seen some YouTubers who've gone and done these events and taken footage and stuff, and some of them were testing to see if the cheats were still working in certain ways, because there's like specific ones like
weird, like glitching through
things, but there's also there's supposed to be one where like if you whistle and run at the same time, you actually run faster or something, and so they were testing to see if they had been patched out. Essentially,
it's cool.
It's true.
And as far as I know, none of them have been.
Rubik Darkwill says, yeah, it's true that the demo that is on the Switch 2 stuff it starts you like you don't have to do the stuff on the plateau.
Right.
So it does. So he was up a little bit from where it was anyway.
Yeah.
But it's still very good.
It's still very good.
So yeah, it reminds me also of like the people who have beaten Ocarina of Time, the Ocarina of Time demo that's on Smash Brothers.
Yeah, I love that. I love that where they're like, you
yeah.
only get to play it for a certain amount of time. They're like, well, we found a way to get under the water.
Yeah,
but for whatever reason, they put the whole game on.
Yeah. Probably just easier than trying to section it off.
Anyway, we're just about out of time here, but I just want to end on a fun story.
Thank goodness.
Oh, okay.
Because
Paul does
of
like
course, I will never get tired of Helldivers 2 patch updates.
Ooh.
Patch notes.
Have we finally figured out the shovel?
No. That I will say that I have been very disappointed that the patch notes, or the major orders as they're called, that have come down have been, I would say, suspiciously silent about the shovel. Perhaps there's a deeper shovel meaning. I don't know.
Maybe it's just a poop shovel and no one wants to talk about it.
So anyway, we've talked a little bit about the stuff going on in Hell, because of course Helldivers, you're playing these levels and stuff, but there's this sort of overarching storyline that is ostensibly affected by how people do and what they do in the game.
Right.
How much it is affected by that, you can decide on your own. I'm assuming there's a fair amount of illusion of choice stuff going on, where it's like, you do a thing and then it's like, you did that. That means this will happen.
Like, we did all that thing.
Or you don't do the thing. It's like, you didn't do that thing. That means this happens.
Yes.
Which is actually the same thing.
Yeah.
Because they didn't tell you what they were doing beforehand.
We changed some words to make it sound slightly different. Yeah.
So there's been this sort of black hole anomaly thing moving around that has been very scary. But they've finally been able to deal with that.
Okay.
My favorite so far, my favorite thing is one of the things that they got everyone to do is they've been fighting these guys called the Illuminate, I think. They're saying this happened in mid-April.
Okay.
They released an update that was talking about more about these guys and encouraging everyone to the Illuminate are finally striking close. The desperation of them they're finally striking so close rather than the sparsely populated colonies. The Helldivers must defend these critical sites. More attacks on other planets may come. This also represents an opportunity, however. With enough specimens, our scientists may be able to further investigate how the Illuminate are able to control the minds of the voteless, which I believe are just the regular people in.
Okay.
Because if you're not part of
Because
the
if you're not
army,
part of the army, you don't.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And through an understanding of this technology, we will be able to do countermeasures to protect our innocent citizens.
So wait. You're telling me
So they want to capture a bunch of guys so they can learn how they're mind controlling, so they can protect people from the mind control.
Yeah, you're gonna tell me that a military operation wants to learn about mind control powers from the other group so that they can stop people from being mind controlled and not so that they can do the mind control.
We need to know as much about mind controlling as possible so that we can prevent it.
Yep.
Great.
That's what poison masters say too.
The voteless are more zombies made from the Illuminate. Oh, I see. Freaky. Oh, I see. The Illuminate, I see. But I was talking about the illusion of choice thing. So they were doing this thing where they had to do a bunch of stuff in order to Helldivers, the ultimate fruits of our Federation-wide toil are at last within reach. With one last valorous effort from all the Helldivers, the Meridian Singularity may finally be stopped. I
remember this, yeah.
Yeah, this is this black holy thing that was attacking.
Righto.
On Palin 5, the repulsive gravity field generator nears completion. Based on liberated Illuminate technology and fueled by oceanic quantities of E701, this colossal apparatus will generate vast repulsive gravitational waves that are projected to ultimately halt the wormhole's movement. Interference from the Illuminate is expected as peak activation nears to enable the actualization of our final permanent victory over the resurgent alien race. The Helldivers are ordered to thin the Illuminate forces and defend vital planets. So they do a bunch of stuff.
All right.
And you have to do a bunch of things. Outcome. Failure.
No.
So the collective player base didn't do enough of what they told them to do.
Right. Okay.
Apparently. Dauntless efforts by the Helldivers fell short of the mission targets. But the righteousness of our cause has yielded unequivocal victory nevertheless. Though construction of the repulsive gravity field generator did not meet all the design metrics, the bold action was taken to activate the device in a mostly completed state.
That's some pretty good spin. Yeah,
All right.
okay.
It's not done, but...
And they're like, we didn't get all the stuff worked on, but we decided to turn it on anyway and hope it would work.
It's probably fine, right? Like the tasks that were left were like putting flames on the thing so it would go faster, right?
That's
Yeah.
pretty good.
And stuff like that.
It was like a bunch of like bullshit safety stuff that we had put
I
on.
know, nobody needs those.
Backup fuel lines.
So anyway, yeah, they say like the Center of Science projections confirm that the Meridian wormhole will slow into a complete halt in short order. So yay! And further all, the Illuminate incursions have abruptly ended and the enemy has disappeared. Victory of managed democracy is undeniable. Yay! The repulsive gravity field generator also suffered what some have called a catastrophic implosion. The staff members lost at the implosion will be remembered as heroes, and the resultant crater will be converted into a heartfelt, stirring memorial.
Right.
Lovely.
Okay. Sure.
So anyway, and if you remember from previous instances in the Helldivers lore, when a particular enemy faction disappears randomly,
like not available to fight against for a while. Yeah.
they never come back, and it's fine.
Yeah, that sounds like something I would go with.
True.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was a situation that happened like, I don't know, 6 months ago or something, where like basically the good guys won.
Right.
Like there was like the sort of bug aliens and the robots, and the good guys like they did so well that they basically wiped out the robot faction. And then they're like, and so everyone's like, ooh, what's gonna happen now? And it's like, they're not just gonna not have those guys in the game anymore.
Yeah, they already put them in the game, so they'll figure it a way.
Surprise, surprise, they came back.
Oh, good.
Anyway,
That's good.
but I love because the thing about this though, like this is not just like random story stuff, right? Each one of these things, like this is updates that like change what the actual like objectives are in the game. They add, in a lot of cases, they're adding new events, or they're adding they're actually, these are like, in some cases they're balance tweaks and stuff that they're doing, which I like because they'll do balance tweaks, but they'll do them like in universe, right? So they'll be like, we found a thing that makes the missile launcher 30% faster, yay!
Yeah.
Or it's like, this thing has suddenly stopped being quite as good as it was before. It'll be actually like sort of,
And they'll put a positive spin on it.
as if the scientists are like working hard on making
Well, yeah.
you happy.
I mean, that's how you do propaganda.
Exactly. You tell me it's like your gun now fires at a slower rate because it means that you'll be, it means you're not wasting as many bullets, and therefore.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, the robots that were defeated were actually the recon force. The real bitch.
Jesus.
Anyway, Helldivers 2 continues to be extremely amusing. I'm assuming it's also fun to play. I haven't actually played it myself.
Yeah, it's like Eve that way, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
people I know who've played it seem like they were having fun.
Yeah.
So, sure.
Anyway, if you haven't seen this week's episode of ChillPoint, you should do that. It's up on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/LRRVG, our video game YouTube channel. We talked about lots of stuff. It was very funny. And of course, we want to thank everybody for joining us and supporting us, either subscribing to the stream, or if you're a member of the YouTube channel, or supporting us on Patreon, or any of the other ways that you support us. Thank you very much, and thank you for joining me. And thanks to Beej and Heather for
Coming back
coming
like
back.
we said we would.
I come back and the store shut down. What the fuck?
Not leaving me all alone. Yeah.
You pulled a plug on the way out.
While you were gone, we shut down the store.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's on purpose.
Without your
Yeah, that's
authorization.
on
I'm being a
purpose.
dick.
Without-
Yeah.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.